The whole relationship with PullLogic with us started on a different project. We were looking to solve for distribution warehouse locations throughout the United States based on a concept that we had. In that team that we assembled to help us model out the distribution warehouses was Professor Benoit Montreux, and he had some concepts that he also wanted to talk about on the side, which were around optimizing inventory at these dealers that we partner with to distribute and sell our product. What we thought was really interesting about that was typically our inventory at the dealer base is really inefficient. We take guesses in the fall about what's going to be sold in the spring. We rely on a dealer base who oftentimes goes off of history and goes off of what they see on other people's lots versus some sort of analytical calculations. We thought that this concept had some value and that we would be interested, and that's when Benoit introduced us to PullLogic. One of the things that has been really a big advantage and something that we think that helps us in our industry, as I mentioned, you have pockets of inventory based on dealer projections, and it may be town by town. Even if a dealer is 40 miles away from another dealer, one may be selling one model, one may be selling the other, but there's no way really to coordinate that in the past, right? And so now with PullLogic's tools, we're able to look at what's productive in one market versus the other. That tool also then gives us the ability to look at, if you change your product assortment, could you optimize your inventory better? Does that dealer have the right number of inventory? Are they short, or are they ordering too much on a regular basis, which hurts their velocity and hurts our pocketbook when we finance that dealer inventory for a period of time? Product availability ratio gives us a tool set for us to look at what's the most optimal inventory assortment in a market or at a dealership or in a city. These are tool sets we think that are commonplace outside of our industry, outside of our marketplace. If you look at the way Amazon has shaped distribution and consumer good distribution now, if you do have brick and mortar stores, you're handling the product planning a lot differently than you did 30 years ago before Amazon got in and started using math, started using predictive algorithms to help predict what should be where. Our industry has typically been very inefficient in the way we distribute product, position product for the sale. As I mentioned, relying on dealers to forecast, meeting their forecast, all based on historicals. Once that dealer inventory comes to the end of its life of financing or inventory financing, when we have to scramble around and move it around. We think that product availability ratio gives us that ability to predict what they should have, help them optimize that, and it's a living, breathing thing, right? As we see the market change, we can help them adjust. And so I think what it does for us is helps us, maybe it's an overstatement to say what Amazon did for the book industry, but it helps us really solve that equation for getting the right product, the right place at the right time. To be quite honestly, I think the product that we are using right now is quite different from when we started looking at many months ago. And a lot of that's been through this interactive dialogue with PullLogic. As we looked at the product and saw some of the capabilities, we asked for some add-ons. For instance, the initial forecasting window, which goes down by dealer, by model, we saw a lot of value not only for predicting sales and inventory, but also for our supply chain management. But in order to really help us on the supply chain side, we needed a longer window. And so while the accuracy or the confidence level gets broader or wider as we go out further, we now have a much longer window. So it's useful in us going back to our supply chain and managing that. And so that's one good example of the many different customizations that have happened over the many months we've been working with PullLogic. One of the things you notice is in our industry that when you're in any industry where you use multi-step distribution, the closer you get to the consumer, the smaller the company tends to be. So you go from a multinational global company like ours that has billions of dollars in SG&A a year to a company that has multi-million dollars in sales, but their SG&A capability to afford tool sets is much smaller. And they would never be able to afford to do some of these predictive analytical things. They would never be able to, except for a very rare cases, afford their own person creating predictive algorithms for sales, retail sales, or inventory planning. And so how do we offer them, by partnering with us, a way to be more sophisticated, a way to increase their business, increase their efficiency, lower their risk? And that's sort of the concept of us partnering with PullLogic. The main thing about really effectively using the PullLogic tool is that there's a leap of faith that you have to have senior management buy in on, because there's going to be people who still doubt the accuracy of predictive models on human behavior. The great part about it is it's not just a startup company with smart guys. It's also tied into Benoit Montreux, who is a world-renowned supply chain predictive analytics expert. And he's tied into some of the biggest companies in North America who do this kind of stuff on a regular basis. And they rely on his expertise to help them optimize their systems. And so when you walk in and you meet the folks from Georgia Tech that work with Benoit, you see the tool sets, you can see that linkage, and you're getting sort of the cutting edge of supply chain management.